The fat director stood on the platform wringing his hands. Henry was over 20 minutes late and the passengers were beginning to get angry. Finally, the shed-master arrived at the station. "Oh, there's been a disturbance, sir." Henry, Gordon, and James are refusing to move. "That fails to explain where Edward and Winston are." "Oh, well, Winston's there too, but he's arguing with them to get a move on. Edward left for his station earlier." "Right," said the fat director grimly. "We'll soon settle out this nonsense." When the fat director arrived at the sheds, there was pandemonium. The workers were everywhere, with Winston shielding them from steam hisses from the big engines. A line of wagons sat in front of James, blocking it, while a truck sat next to Henry, which was clearly used as an attempt to drag him out. "What is the meaning of this? Henry, your train was due at Edwards Junction by now. Henry's not going, and neither are me and James." "It's James. No, I don't. Go on. We refuse to sound like little tank engines. Thomas left you years ago, and you still haven't replaced him. We are important tender engines, and tender engines don't shunt. I understand that these are hard times, but you didn't get one even before the market crash." The fat director thought for a moment. "If I get an engine to shunt, will you get out of the shed?" "Why, yes, indeed." "All right, I'll get Edward to do it, but that means there will be no banker at Gordon's Hill." Gordon's temper swelled, but he kept his composure. He hated being reminded of the time he got stuck on the hill in the countryside. "Fine, get Edward." Edward was shunting wagons in his yard when the fat director rushed up. "Edward, there's been some trouble in the shed. I need you to pilot at the big station for a while. Let me guess, those big engines went through with their little strike idea? You knew about this." "I knew they were thinking about it, but I thought they wouldn't be so immature." "Fine, I'll bail you out, but I won't take any mistreatment. I suffer enough as it is." "All right, if they're being buffoons, I'll get a tank engine and lock them in their shed." So Edward arrived at the big station to shunt. He did well, but the big engines had no respect for him. By the next morning, Edward was exhausted. The fat director came to see what was going on. "They're acting like little children. They called me names all last night and hissed steam when I passed. They said I had black wheels. I don't really, sir, do I?" "No, Edward, you have lovely blue wheels, and I'm proud of you. That does it. I won't tolerate this behavior. I'm sorry you had to suffer, Edward. I will go to the other railway at once and find another tank engine. Tell Thomas, Winston, Colin, Adam, and Glenn to be in the yards next to the big station upon my return." With that, the fat director and his aides boarded the train for the mainland. Edward went off to tell the others. The fat director visited a workshop on the mainland, and they showed him many engines. Finally, the fat director's gaze locked on a little green engine with 4 wheels. "Such an odd design. It is just what I need. If I buy you, will you work hard?" "Yes, sir, I will." "That's a good engine. I'll call you Percy after my friends here." "Percy? Thanks, sir. Thank you very much." After the purchase was complete, the fat director brought Percy back to the yards. James, Gordon, and Henry sat sulkily in the shed. "Edward left us and got the rest of the engines. The men say the services are cancelled for the rest of the day. We refuse to move. Edward didn't do what we told him to." "Edward does not take orders from you. I don't care if you don't want to leave the shed because you're not welcome out here. My engines work hard and do what they're told. If this ever happens again, I will send the 3 of you away like I did those naughty engines all those years ago." The fat director turned on his heel and walked towards the rest of his fleet. They all hushed and became quiet upon his arrival. "This is an all-hands-on-deck emergency. Cullen, you're in charge of the branch line while the big engines are shut up. Winston, Adam, Thomas, Edwards, you're in charge of running the main line services. Glenn, you're in charge of the maintenance trains, and Percy, you'll be running Thomas's branch line. I do not know how long this will be going on for, but I do know you will all make me proud. Now go!" The engines all went their different directions. They were all determined to make the fat director proud. Thomas was anxious about his branch line, but the guard and Percy promised him that they would take very good care of it and Annie and Clarabelle. There were less trains, but the passengers didn't mind much. They knew the big engines were being taught a lesson. Gordon, James, and Henry were cold, lonely, and miserable. They wished now that they hadn't been so silly.